Welcome to Always Moving Forward with Renee.
Moving forward.
Happy Sunday to all, and welcome to Always Moving Forward with Renee. My co-host today, Tina
Brigley.
Brigley. Tina Brigley is here. She's on a mission, and her mission is to reduce the divorce rate and bring deeper connections back to families. This is part 2. Hopefully you didn't miss last Sunday, but this is part 2, and I'm going to get into it right now because Tina has so much information she wants to share with us. But let me just say this. 1 Corinthians 13th chapter, 13th verse states, "And now these 3 remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these 3 is love." So Tina, let's start right away. Tell us something about your early childhood. But before you do that, kind of sum it up real quick about, your life coach, not a life coach, a relationship coach.
Yep.
Okay.
Renee, I am a relationship coach. I'm trained as a health coach and a life coach. But because my husband and I were separated for 3 years and we got back together, now it's something that we do. Now it's something that I do. I coach other people because I didn't have the tools to save my marriage. And now I do. So I'm really committed to making sure that people completely have tools to take on their relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your childhood memories. What happened in your childhood that might have contributed to you sitting there wanting to, you was miserable in your marriage, and how you started drinking, etc. Go ahead.
So I want to share 2 stories with you. And the first one, I'm going to actually start when I'm 22. Okay. I'm 22 years old. I'm out on a date with my husband. Well, he was my boyfriend at the time, my husband now. And we're out to dinner with my friends. They're meeting him for the first time. So of course your friends do what they do, right? They tell stories about grade school, high school, tell all to my new relationship. So we're having a conversation, I'm the butt of all jokes. And then my one friend says, Tina is the strongest person you'll ever meet. She's our resident ice princess. Oh. And I thought, ice princess? Like, that's how they think of me, as the ice. It had become part of my identity that I didn't even realize was there. Mm-hmm. And so I started really thinking about that. And I took a personal development seminar. And while I was there, they talked about how our identities are formed. And I thought, this is really interesting. How did I become the ice princess? Like, what happened in my life that caused me to shut down my emotions and be strong? So then I remembered, I'm 4 years old, and my dad takes me on vacation to go visit my aunt and uncle. Mm-hmm. We're on an airplane, and that evening, he went out with my uncle. But now, let me tell you, as a 4-year-old, I thought that my father abandoned me. He left me. He took me on an airplane and left me with strangers. So I was crying, and I was holding on to his leg, and my aunt grabbed me, and my dad walked out the door. I remember crying so hard. I was like hyperventilating. Yeah. I was shaking. And I remember sitting on the lazy boy chair, and I wiped my tears. And I vividly remember as a 4-year-old saying, "Stop crying, Dad's never coming back." And my aunt told me to be strong. Be strong. Your dad's coming back. So what I decided in that moment was I was going to be strong, and crying was not going to solve my problems. My dad left, and he's not coming back. I mean, he did come back, Right.
He
He just went to a concert with my uncle, but that was it. that was my defining moment that shaped my identity. That's where the Ice Princess came from. And so now when big things happened in my life, like, you know, my parents had me when they were young. They did the best that they could do. My dad struggled with mental health issues. He has schizophrenia. And, you know, my mom and dad both were big drinkers. There was a lot of stuff that happened in my life.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the stuff that affected my life. It was that 4-year-old. She was running my show. And so I really got that I was wandering life as a 4-year-old, getting triggered. You know, and what I realized in my relationship coaching is that we have very unconscious relationships. We do things that we're not aware of why we're doing that. We're protecting ourselves. You know, that primitive brain, the fight, flight, or freeze response. We're reactivated all the time. And it comes from our childhood, and we don't even know. We're trying to heal old wounds. I was trying to heal old wounds.
Right.
But what happened was I couldn't even express emotion in my relationship. Stone cold. You know, and it really hit me one day when my daughters, they said to me, you know, my youngest daughter, she's very much like me, doesn't show a lot of emotion. And she said to me, you know, Mom, when you sat us down and told us that you and Dad were splitting up, we were all crying and you weren't. Why weren't you crying? I'm like a dagger.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm fortunate enough that my daughters also do personal development. And she recognized her childhood story, and it was that. She told herself, if my mom's not going to cry, neither am I, because I want to be just like my mom. Now it's funny because we watch TV and sappy commercials and we cry together and we laugh at our stories. You know, but that was really one of those defining moments in my life. And had I had not taken that personal development seminar, I'd still be going through life not knowing. I had no idea. I was blind. Yeah,
Ice Princess.
the Ice Princess. You know, the other moment in my life that really affected me, that I had no idea affected me, I was in the 7th grade and my family had a house fire. Our house burned down. And so we had to leave our, you know, community where we lived, a nice quiet little, you know, it was part of the city, but nice little subdivision. And we moved downtown. And I went to a new school, new people. My first day I walked in and this boy looked at me and he said, "Hey, new girl, what's wrong with your eyes?" And I looked at him, I said, "My eyes?" And he said, "Yeah, you have golf ball eyes." He's like, "Hey, everybody, look at this new girl. She has golf ball eyes." And the whole class started laughing at me. And that whole year I was teased and bullied. But it wasn't the teasing and the bullying that really affected me. It was the story that I told myself, which is, I don't belong, I'm not pretty, and I'm not good enough. So when I really discovered this, it was like my life started flashing before my eyes. This whole story of I'm not good enough. And then I realized I wasn't good enough in my relationship. And my story with my husband, my view of him, was that he was critical and judgmental and nothing was ever good enough for him. That wasn't the truth. That was what I created.
Yeah.
And I looked for evidence everywhere. And I found it everywhere because that's what I was looking for. When I discovered that and I got to show up in the world like I'm good enough, that's how I was able to leave my teaching job. That's how I was able to pursue coaching. That's how I was able to move from health coaching to relationship coaching. Because relationships, that's what I was doing the whole time. You know, I was helping people develop a relationship with themselves.
Right. So that led you to go from a life coach to relationship coach.
Yeah. It's about a relationship with yourself. Right. Once you have that, then you can take on your relationship with others, not just your spouse or your kids or your community. You know, everybody, every relationship.
Right.
And people say, well, I'm not married, so I don't need a relationship coach. And I said, do you have relationships with friends, with coworkers? How are those relationships? Are they really great? Are you stopped from even being in a relationship? You know, how many of us decided, you know, no, this happened in my past. I'm not getting into a relationship. I saw what my parents went through. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
You know, it's real important that we watch what we say. You know, it's real important. And kids, as Tina, as an educator, myself, you know, kids are cruel sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's how our children, you know, take that in. And what we say to the young kids, like your aunt told you, be strong. You know, be strong. You know, my mother used to always say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And how you say it is what you internalize and how it affects you. So we need to be careful as to what comes out of our mouths. But Tina, you know, tell me this. When you realized from coaching, because how long were you and your husband separated?
We were separated for 3 years.
For 3 years, and you went into life coaching. From there, you went into relationship coaching. Now, your husband was there waiting for you. Was he there waiting for you? You know, because you said you two got back together. How did that happen?
So when I started really getting involved in personal development, even though we were separated, I said, listen, I took this program. I really think it would be of value to you. He's like, why would I do something? Like, we're not even together. Why would I do this? And so I shared with him, right? Like what opened up and what I discovered and how I felt that, you know, I sabotaged our relationship. And so after a year, he saw a difference in me, even though we weren't together. He saw that there was something different, and he decided that whatever it was that I was doing, that he wanted to be a part of it.
Oh, great.
And so he started doing personal development too. And then after his seminar, he called me and he said, I really want to create something with you, a marriage, completely new. I said, oh, whoa, wait a minute. No, like I'm good. We've been separated for 3 years. That's not really what I want in my life. And then I started realizing through doing, learning about relationships, is that I'm repeating the same mistakes with other people that I'm dating. And I really discovered that who I saw my husband as when we were married is not actually who he is. That's who I created in my mind. And so then I started seeing him differently. I didn't see him as judgmental and critical and looking for, you know, how I wasn't good enough. Because I got rid of that in myself. I was good enough. I didn't need to look for him to tell me I was good enough. I got to show up as good enough. And he saw me as good enough. And then I started thinking, like, what would our life be like? Oh my gosh, I love my children. I love the fact that we travel together and that we have an amazing life and that he would do everything for me. And I really thought, this is possible. This is who I've wanted the whole time. And there's so much healing in being with that person that you're attracted to, you know? And I felt like we could heal together by being together. See, because that's what I thought. I had to leave to go find myself. But what I discovered is that I could find myself in my relationship. And I really did find myself in that relationship because I got to be the person that he needs. I get to be the person that will help heal him. And then what I get is he gets to be the person that I need.
Right.
So now in communication with each other, I'm able to say to him, listen, when you say X, Y, and Z, I get triggered. I go back to being a little girl that wants to protect myself and run away. And that's not working for me. And he doesn't feel like he's doing something wrong. He becomes aware. He's like, when I say this, I trigger her. I don't want to trigger her. I want us to love each other and be on the same team. So my husband and I started playing on the same team.
Now, is he a coach as well?
He's not. He's an electrician.
Oh, okay.
He's a construction worker. Yeah. He's an electrician. Like, no, he was not going to do personal development. Like, I work with men, we swear, and whatever else they do, you know? And he's like, this is not for me. This is like woo-woo stuff.
Right.
And then when he really discovered, you know, that he had stuff from the past too, he never heard his parents say, I love you. And he never told his parents, I love you. And when he started doing the inner work, he called him and said, listen, I really love you. And I never heard those words from you. And I would really like to hear those words from you. And now his parents, every time we see them, they tell us how much they love us.
Oh, good.
They tell the kids how much they love them. You know, and that wasn't going to be possible. Because he would have been too afraid to say to his parents, like, listen, I never heard this from you. Why? They're like, no, we did. And then they realize, wow. You know, so it's just like, it rippled.
Right.
I did the work. He did the work. Our kids do the work. Our families, you know, and we're all working.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes, really. An awareness and an openness to just see something newly, see something different, you know, that's blind, that we can't see.
Wow.
I know that was a mouthful.
But you know, Tina, in my research, I found that a lot of things, well, the majority of things that lead to a breakup and divorce is like in a relationship when you feel distance. You know, there's an increase in arguing or negativity, a lack of affection, just like you're saying, you know, telling someone that you love them. Because I come from a family where we hug one another, and we always end the conversation on the phone by saying, I love you. You know, that's what we always do. Now, my husband's family, it's different.
Right.
It's different. But my family, you know, that's what we do. And then another thing, an increase of anger, hostility, you know, towards one another. These are things that you work with, I know, as a relationship coach. So what I want you to do, Tina, is tell them how they can get in touch with you. Because if anyone has any of those problems, you know, or you just need to talk about your relationship, something that I didn't mention, give Tina a call. Tina, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
You can call me at 519-819-3184. You can find me on Facebook at Tina Brigley Coaching. I have a private group called Relationship Transformation, Unlocking the Secrets to Success on Facebook. Or you can go to my website at www.tinabrigley.com. And there's one thing that I want to say, Renee. Relationships are not broken and they don't need to be fixed. There's something missing. And when you discover what that is and you work together, you can transform your marriage, you can transform your relationship. And I promise you, it's so worth it.
Okay. Now, with coaching, relationship coaching, if someone calls you and they need to hire you,
Yes.
What's the cost of something like that?
My program, well, I have different levels of programming.
Okay.
So I have group coaching and I have personal coaching. Do you want me to give you? I usually don't. I would rather people call me and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Because
Well,
I could
tell
say
me this.
$100 and people would be like, "That's too much," or you know, and people get scared. They're like, "Okay, money comes up for people," and then it stops them from even making a phone call. So.
Okay. Well, can you tell me this?
Yes.
Does insurance cover this?
Not in Canada.
Not in Canada.
No, because coaching is not a regulated profession yet.
Okay.
We're working on it, but it's not. So it's not covered through most drug plans.
Okay. What is the most difficult part of being a coach?
Doing the personal work that it takes to be a coach. That's the most difficult part. If you're not doing the work as a coach, you can't take your clients any farther than you've already taken yourself in your life.
Right.
So for me, that's why I invest so much. Last year I had over 1,000 years. It feels like 1,000 years, 1,000 hours of personal development. Because I know when I'm stopped, my clients, I'm stopping them too. So continuously investing, at least 10 hours a week doing personal development on top of building a business is the hardest part. Coaching is easy, especially.
Okay. Now, what do you love about coaching?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything, because really, I get to be with people. I get to hear their stories, and I get to be a part of their transformation. Literally seeing somebody who has been struggling with mental health issues their whole life discover their story and go on to start their own business. People who are stopped writing books, becoming authors, really stepping into their greatness. These are repairing marriages, keeping marriages whole and complete. That for me, there is no greater feeling in the world. When you get to see somebody come out of a dark place into the light, and I get to contribute to that, I would do it for free. Really, I love it that much.
Okay,
Yeah.
But tell us, you mentioned TEDx?
Yes.
Right, you mentioned that earlier. Tell us about that.
So I literally, during my personal development, I discovered how my identity was crafted. So I was so moved by what I learned that I created a TED Talk to talk about my story, all of my stories. And you've heard 2 of them today. But I called it Abandoned at 4, the power of our stories. And the stories that we hang on to are so powerful. They literally change us at a biological level.
Wow.
Our stories create our biology, who we are. When you identify your stories that you're hanging on to, you can start living your life on your terms. You get to write the chapter in your book of life.
Okay, so that's what you mean about your stories and the biology.
The biology, yeah, because our thoughts, right? Our thoughts are what create what shows up in the world.
Okay.
I know, it kind of went off track a little bit.
Okay.
Did I lose you, Renee?
No, I'm still here with you. It's just what is my next question now? But what are some of the best success stories? We don't have a lot of time left for this segment, so we're going to come back. But what are some of your best stories? As a coach.
As a coach, I had a woman who really struggled with mental health issues. And she was depressed. She had anxiety. She had been off work for 3 years. It was so debilitating in her life. And her first session with me, she said, I can't do this. You're too intense for me. And I said, listen, I'm going to come. I'm going to meet you where you're at. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. I met her exactly where she was at. Her third session with me, she canceled. And she said, she came up with reasons and excuses. And I said, listen, unless you're dying, you need to be at my house. And just by me standing for her and showing her, listen, I'm not here to allow you to stay stopped in your reasons and excuses, something shifted in her. She started eating better, losing weight, feeling great. She got back to work after being off for 3 years. She was living with her daughter. She moved out, got her own place, was in a relationship. She literally transformed her life. And she also discovered that what was missing was the relationship with her mom. She got a relationship with her mom back. And that was in 12 weeks. That was 12 hours.
Wow.
I saved 3 marriages in the last 6 months. I coached the woman. She came for personal coaching.
Right.
She said, I have all these tools. My husband needs these tools too. So then the 3 women enrolled their husbands, and then I started coaching them separately. And that's what I do with relationship coaching. I have an automated program, like modules, and I encourage couples to do the learning modules together. And then I coach them a half an hour each at separate times. I don't coach them together.
Okay.
And so lots of, I could go on. I've created, but I help people. One of my clients, she's an author now. She wanted to write a book and she was too afraid. And she was just like stopped. She got her book published and she's on her second and writing her novel.
Okay, well, you see that success stories come out of coaching. But I just want to say, if you need prayer or you want to let me know how you like the show today, give me a call at 313-657-5556 or email me at gwealths111. And I always have to mention Mr. Bell, Antoine Bell of BGN TV Gospel. He makes it possible every week for us to come into your homes and be with you and bring you people like Tina today, a coach. But Tina, tell them again your phone number, how they can get in touch with you.
You can call me at 519-819-3184. Find me on my website, www.tinabrigley.com, or on Facebook at Tina Brigley Coaching.
Okay, and you know what? We're going to come back. We're going to bring Tina back because there's so much more that we need to talk about. We need to get with each and every one of you out there because I know I'm learning something from this. And I've got my husband sitting over there. So he's learning too. So we're going to be the hot couple here. But come back. I want you to be with us next week because Tina's going to be with us again too. So until next week, remember God loves you and so do we. So we'll see you.
Bye.
You enjoy Always Moving Forward with Renee.
Moving forward.
What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Vicki Winans, and you're watching Bell Global Network.
Hi, I'm Clifton Davis, and you're watching Bell Global Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm telling you, everything that happened to me that was good, God did it. I'm Evelyn Turrentine, AG, and you're watching the Bell Global Network.
This is Pastor D. Alexander Bullock of Preachers of Detroit, and you're watching the Bell Global Network.
This is Bishop Edgar Van of Second Ebenezer Church in Detroit, Michigan, and you're watching the Bell Global Network.
Hi, I'm Bernadette Stanis. You know me best as Thelma from the TV show Good Times, and you are watching Bell Global Network.